Today I'm going to show you how to cook a risotto, a dish which sometimes fills people with fear, but really think of it as cooked, flavoured rice. Nothing more than that. It's a very simple dish once you understand the fundamentals of cooking a risotto. In Italian, risotto simply means cooked rice. First thing we need is some oil into a pan. Any heavy based pan will do. I'm using a large commercial wrap pan, but any casserole dish will do. Anything that's got a reasonably heavy base on it. So we need some olive oil and a good knob of butter. Get that up to temperature. Take a couple of minutes. And then some cooked onion. And then some onion. Again, depending on how much risotto you're making, you'll need maybe 1-2 onions, finely chopped. The idea being that the size of the onion pieces resemble rice. You don't want to have large chunks of onions for your risotto at the end, so you cut it nice and finely, about the size of a grain of rice, so it resembles the rice. Our pan's up to temperature, so we throw this onion in, like so. Give it a wee stir and cook that down for about 3 or 4 minutes until it's transparent. You don't want to colour this. Again, it's meant to look like the rice in the finished dish, so you don't want to colour your onion. You're just sweating it down so it becomes somewhat transparent. At this stage, you put in a wee bit of garlic. Just a couple of cloves. Again, it's a personal preference thing. Some people prefer more garlic, some people prefer less. I happen to like garlic, so I'm going to put a fair bit in. A couple of good sized cloves. Again, finely chopped. You want it to, like the onion, resemble the rice. And again, you put this in a little bit after the onion. It takes less time to cook the garlic, and if you overcook garlic in any dish, it becomes very bitter. The onions sweated down pretty nice now. I'll throw the garlic in. This will take another minute or so. And you can see it's just sweated down. There's no colour to that onion, it's just cooked through. Now you do risottos at a fairly, not a gentle heat, it's not a high heat, it's not a rapid heat, it's a medium tending towards high. You want this rice to cook quickly. It's a dish that really shouldn't take any more than about 20-25 minutes to cook from scratch, or at least once you start putting stock in. Right, so that garlic's now sort of cooked enough, I guess, really. Now it's time to put the rice in. Now this is a kilo of arborio rice. The most important thing about making any risotto is getting the right rice. It must be a short grain rice. There's several different types of risotto rice. Arborio is by far the most common and cheapest. You can get cannaroli, which is more expensive rice. There's several different types of risotto rice. The important thing is that you get a short grain risotto rice. You cannot use a long grain rice. It doesn't have enough starch in it and won't provide you with a creamy risotto. So really important, arborio. So this is a kilo. This will feed 10 people. Good sized portions. It is far easier to cook a risotto for 4 or 6 people than it is to cook a risotto for 2. So I'm going to cook a whole kilo of it, which will yield 10 adult sized portions. What I don't use tonight, I'll put in the fridge or freeze down. Right, so that goes in, a whole lot, all at once. If you were doing a meal for 4 or 6, half a cup of rice per person is plenty. Now you let this, you get the rice all coated with the oil. It's really, really, really important at this stage that the rice is coated and toasts in the oil. This will take about a minute or 2. You can see it's just coated there. It's just sort of gently fried, toasting in the oil. And you can see that the onion and the garlic have sort of melded into the rice. There's a couple of bigger pieces in there. I'll just pick those out. Purely for aesthetics. Right, so you can see it's sort of toasting away. It doesn't appear to be doing much. In actual fact, this is a really important stage of the dish. Make sure that every grain of rice has a coating of hot oil. The next thing we'll do is we'll start adding the stock. Another really important thing is to make sure your stock is hot, at least warm. You can't use cold stock, it will shock the rice and stop the cooking process. You want the cooking process for risotto to be continuous. So hot stock is really important. I'm using a vegetable stock, which is the simplest stock to make. I made this a bit earlier today. It's simply chopped up carrots, celery heads, leeks, carrots, a couple of black peppercorns, some bay leaves, and a sprig of parsley. Cold water, bring it up to the boil, let it simmer for about half an hour, and you've got vegetable stock. Simple as that. Really, really easy stock to make. If you wanted to, you could put a chicken stock in, or a beef stock, or whatever stock, but vegetable and chicken stock are by far the most common stocks used to flavour risotto. Bearing in mind this is a very basic risotto, from this point onwards you start to flavour with everything. You can be as complicated or as simple as you like. But at this stage we're making the basic risotto, a risotto base. Right, so that's it. That rice has now had a chance to be coated. It's glistening, it's really nice, toasted. Now we start adding our stock, which is a very straightforward process. You simply add a ladle or two at a time. And you can hear it sizzling away. It's quite a high heat. It didn't appear to be doing much when the rice was toasting, but you start putting stock in, you can hear it sizzling away. Stir. Really important. You get nice creamy risottos by continuously stirring. It breaks up the starch in the rice and just results in a really creamy risotto. You don't want to put too much stock in at once because it will struggle to absorb it. Arborio is a very, very, very absorbent rice, and that's where risotto comes from. The rice grains plump up, but you do need to stir it. There's some people who say you don't need to stir risotto. I don't personally subscribe to that theory. Right, you can see now that that rice has absorbed the 4 ladles of stock I put in initially. Now you start putting in a ladle at a time, maybe 2. Put them down to the cooking process, and the rice is, you can see from here, it's absorbed all the stock can, it's nice and creamy already, and it's essentially a cooked dish. It is, however, very bland at this stage. We haven't put any seasoning in and there's no flavouring. So now is the time to season this dish and to flavour it with whatever we want. I happen to have some roast pumpkin left over from last night, which I've coarsely mashed, which I'll now add to this risotto, and that'll give it a nice pumpkin-y flavour. So let's pop that straight in. It's already cooked, so all we're doing is sort of amalgamating it into the risotto rice, like so. You get quite whiskey at this stage. I mean, the risotto was cooked, the rice is cooked anyway. It's just a question now of what flavourings you want to add. Leftover roast pumpkin, well, that's a good idea right off the off. It's a way of using up roast pumpkin. Also adds a fantastic colour to the risotto. I've also got some leftover peas from last night's roast as well. They're already cooked. Even if they weren't, if they were frozen peas, that'd be okay too. So just throw those in, simple as that. Mix them through. All they need to do is heat up. They're already cooked. There's the pumpkin. You can see it's taking on some really good colour now. Fun for the kids. The kids will like this dish. It's a cooked rice dish, and there's not many kids that I know that don't like rice. There you go, see it's starting to resemble a risotto now. That is essentially a cooked risotto. The only thing left to do now is to season it and add some cheese and butter to give it even more creaminess. Right? But another important thing to do at this stage is once that risotto is cooked, and it will take about 20-25 minutes, is to put a lid on. Turn the heat off. Walk away for a minute. Lid off the pan, the rice has had a chance to sort of gather itself, I guess. Put that to one side, and now we need to season it. This hasn't got any salt and pepper in it, and it being a rice dish needs plenty of it. So whack in some salt. Don't be shy with the salt, nor with the pepper. Give it a stir. See, it's really quite creamy before we put cheese and butter in. Taste it, really important. Got to be hot. More pepper, definitely. More salt, definitely. I've put peas and roast pumpkin in this one, but what you put in your risotto is entirely up to you. You can make it as fancy or as everyday as you like.
So what are the sort of things that people could put in?
If you wanted to go a little bit posher, you could put seafood in there. You could put shrimps or prawns, calamari, that sort of thing.
What about vegetables? And
yeah, any vegetables will do. You can put zucchini in there, springtime vegetables. Bit of tomato. Not fruit. I wouldn't put strawberries in there, but certainly most springtime vegetables, lightly pan-fried, eggplant's another one you could use in risotto. Really, it's limitless, but certainly some of the classics are things like mushroom risottos. Yeah. Pan-fry some mushrooms in a bit of garlic and butter, and just throw those in 5 minutes.
So it's very important to get that long, slow cook.
Really important. There's no rush in risotto. It does take 20 minutes. It's a dish that needs a bit of attention, but once you master the art of making a basic risotto, you wonder what the fuss was about. Right, so trace it again. Goes much better. Salt brings out the flavour.
And that will cook that. How much is that?
There's 10 portions, 10 adult portions. Need 1 kilo of arboreal rice will yield 10 good-sized adult portions. It's half a cup per person as a rule. Half a cup of rice per person. Oh, that's good actually. Next step is to add the fat part of it, I guess. This is the bit that, well, you know, it's risotto. So what we do is we put butter, plenty of it. Cheese, plenty of it. I'm using Parmesan, but you can use cheddar or any cow's milk cheese, preferably mozzarella is another good one. Plenty of it. So it's all the flavour, all the fattiness, and then you get a bit violent with it. It needs to be whipped almost. You can be quite vigorous with this bit, and it gets really creamy, really flavoursome. You can just feel that having rubbing with it, and you can see it's getting really creamy and really unctuous, like waves lapping at the seashore. Now at this stage, you might want to add some more stock if it's a bit tight, if it's a bit stiff, if it doesn't feel very that loose. You don't want your spoon standing up in it. You want it to be reasonably loose. You can just throw a little stock in, which is exactly what I'm going to do here. The rice is cooked. All you're doing is sort of loosening the risotto.
So how creamy should a risotto finished sort of be?
It should be creamy. It should be really creamy. I mean, I like my risottos to be really, really creamy. Some people like them less creamy. I think a really good risotto should be like that. It should be, well, the Italians have a saying a risotto should be like waves lapping on the seashore, and I don't disagree with that. I think that's about right. Taste it again.
Would you eat risotto on its own? Would you?
Absolutely. It should be eaten on its own. It's a meal unto itself. There's a couple of exceptions to that, but there really are exceptions that proves the rule. Risotto is a dish that's meant to be eaten on its own as a meal itself. In Italy, it would be traditionally served as a first course, but here we eat it as a main course. But certainly, there's no need for anything other than the risotto as your meal. You can see it's a very hearty, very substantial meal, and it's yummy. And that is a risotto. All you need to do is get your family seated, dish it up, pour yourself a glass of vino, and enjoy it.